Yeah, no, I was going to actually ask y'all. It kind of relates to the question you asked in the beginning, but just in a different way. What is it about these shows, right? Outside of like authenticity that really inspires people, right? Because we see people, and when I say inspire people to watch the show and really bring something out of them. Because it's not even people from our culture that watch these shows. It's sometimes people from outside of our culture that like really praise the show. So what do y'all think is really the driving force behind that?
I would say shock value, because a lot of people are like, they become infatuated with culture and things that they don't truly understand. And I think when they kind of get a glimpse of it and they're almost shocked, they're like, wait a minute, is this what's really happening? I kind of want to learn more. I kind of want to see more. And I'll be completely honest with you, that is how, I really got reeled into Top Boy. I had no idea that they were like living like that. So when I saw it, I'm like, wait a minute, I gotta see more. Wait, what? I know there were shows back, back in the days like Kidulthood and stuff like that, but like Top Boy was the one that really pulled me in. I couldn't believe it. It was so crazy. I'm like, I got to go to London. There's no way I can't go to London because I have to go verify what I'm seeing here. I have to go. You know what I'm saying? But what, what about you? Or what do you think it is?
I think it's excuse me, definitely shock value. Definitely it gives like a look inside of people's like lives. For people who are outside the culture, it's like, oh, like this is how y'all really live, or this is how like it is in these neighborhoods. But I also feel like on a grander scale, like the idea of this gangster mentality is something, at least on the Western side, not counting Top Boy, that America has always been infatuated with. Like whether it's the Italian mobsters or it's the cowboys or whatever, like it's just this like whoever's bad, like who's the baddest gang, who's the baddest dude, who makes the most money, who's the most scariest guy. And so I think like when and Hollywood knows this, there's a movie, there's a show every year, or like however many shows or movies every year based on like a big gangster.
Mhm.
And I think that speaks to something in human nature, our human nature about being like, I don't know, or glorifying that, For some reason, that's just something I think America is infatuated with, the gangster. And I, on the outside culture wise, I do feel like it's sadly used as an education, like for some people, like because they really think that's going on, like
Yeah.
all the time, right? Know about like the normal kids who are just going to school in that same hood, who are just going to school, like working on science projects, doing regular stuff, and it's like 10 dudes who are on the corner really try to live that life, out of the 5,000 people in the neighborhood, it's like 10 dudes who are really about that life. So, yeah, again, like it's that outside the culture is kind of tough because I think they use it as an education thing. But like I said, on a grander scale, I think it's just the gangster that America is in love with.
Yeah. Quick side story. Mo, you wasn't there, right? But of course, so O and I, we actually took a trip to London, right? So we were out in London, and I just want to know, do you remember? I think it was our second to last night or the last night there, and we were going to like this spot, and these dudes broke out fighting in the street, and they pulled one of them really pulled out a big machete, huh?
That was our first night.
Our first, no, I don't think so. You know why? Because it was it was definitely later on. You know why? Because we had came from, we was over in Streatham. We was over in Strat. So that was towards our last night. Remember when we was on the bus and all that stuff?
Oh yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Then we went back over
I
there.
felt like it was the first night because that was the first time I ever seen something like that crazy just break
Yeah,
out.
they were brawling in the street, and then somebody really pulled out a machete, and the cops came with the billy clubs.
They just chase with the Billy. Nah, that's funny. That
Yeah,
is dope.
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
They do
I
be
was
stabbing
across the
people out
street. We
there.
were across the street from each other. Like, who was on one side of the street? I was on the other side of the street. I was like, yo, bro, you ain't seen that? I was like, he just
Yeah, cause we we were about to meet up, so I was like, wait, I gotta see this. This is crazy. I'm like, yo, they really just pull out weapons like this. That's absurd.
Yeah, that's wild. That's crazy.
Yeah.
it goes
Oh,
to show, man, like the hood is everywhere, bro. Like
Yeah.
that influence of like that gangster mentality is everywhere. And I remember, to your point earlier, Rue, like there was a point in time where if you told me that London had hoods and like real dudes who was like moving like that, I'm like, come on, bro. Like not in London. You can have an accent and be thugging. But yo, you look at it, bro. Like we was out there. Dudes really out there doing what they do. You know, it's just different. It's just different from what we used to.
Yeah, but hey, bro, what are you waffling about? What are you waffling about, bro?
The culture is real out there, you know what I'm saying? And similar to America, you could just feel the shifts in the culture. You remember we went to Brixton, you know, shout out my Brixton family. When we went to Brix, and then we went to the Estates, you know what I'm saying? And it felt different than where we were staying at, you know what I'm saying? There was just a different vibe, you know. So I think, you know, the shock value, to go back to the shock value, I think people just get infatuated with, wow, that's how it is. And like you say, like they glorify it, or they just like blow it out of proportion, when it's in reality it's probably like 10 guys, but the shows make it seem like it's 10,000 guys, you know what I'm saying? So I think that really reels people in. But Mo, if you had anything else, or you guys want to wrap, I know we've been at this for a minute, but you know, it's a topic that's been on my mind. Just, you know, what is it about these shows, and how are they done well versus how are they done poorly? So Mo, if you got anything else before you take us out.
Nah, nothing else. Nothing else. Do you got anything for us, Oliver? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in seeing if you guys think like it has any, like if any of these shows, if you repeat these kind of theme shows with any intentionality behind it, aside from the monetary aspect. Like, do you feel like they know, like, is there somebody in Hollywood who knows the impact this has on like people's mentalities and how they conduct themselves, especially people who are younger or who have just younger brains where they just can't separate reality from show and stuff like that. Do you think that they take that into account, or it's just like all entertainment and they're just putting their hands up like, oh, we had no idea that this has like.
If I'll let Root answer first. Go ahead.
No, for me, I think it's deeper than entertainment. I think they know to be entertaining, but I think they know, you know, for people, like they want to be so close to it, they want to get their hands on, you know, this kind of life. So it's like, this is the closest you can be to it, is actually watching it on TV. But if I present this situation and make it feel somewhat realistic to you, you can kind of like draw the image in your brain as if you're the one actually in this story. You know what I'm saying? So I think it goes deeper than entertainment. It's a bit of how it can actually make you feel, or some, lack of better term, some weird itch that you need to scratch. You know what I'm saying? So I think it does actually stem deeper than just straight entertainment.
Yeah, I definitely, that is a good point. I would say it's mostly monetary. I think most executives, like most, they're just doing it because they're like, hey, if this is what sells, just like in rap, yo, if this is what sells, this is what we're gonna push, you know, by any means necessary. Now, in terms of when you're talking about TV shows, movies, from a creative aspect, kind of like what Rue's alluding to, I believe there is some sense of like infatuation with just, you know, these type of shows, right? In terms of, you know, not only is it popular, but it's like us as human beings, we're fascinated by violence, right? Just in general. So when you have, you know, these stories that's comprising of different groups of people that can enforce violence, where people can fear them, and not only that, get this amass like an applaud from different people, like, oh yeah, it's great to be gangster, but you don't have to live that life, and I could just portray that on TV. That's like, oh man, like I'm a part of this, you know. So from people from different cultures, when they feel like they're a part of other cultures, I wouldn't say it's cultural appropriation or anything like that, but them wanting to be a part of it also can be like a driving force. But it's really just a monetary gain more than anything. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily like, oh, we're gonna, and you could tell like it starts taking a hit. That's why they start extending these film season 10, 8, 11, because it stops being about a genuine care about the show itself and is about money. We see it happen all the time, you know. So
Yeah, I'll like make one last point before I kind of end. The reason why I think it's a bit deeper than just entertainment, because of course they want it to be entertaining, but they want it to somewhat, you know, appeal to you, or like I said, like just hone on some of your, I don't want to say fantasies because that sounds kind of weird, but you know what I'm saying, some of your imaginations and stuff. Is, I'll give like a quick example. Like I used to play this game called LA Noir, right? It's like a detective game. And I will play it, and I could probably play it for like maybe like 45 minutes, and I would just get really bored. But I could play Grand Theft Auto all day long. And it's just something about like me having no desire to be a detective and go through and find these clues and do these things, versus getting on the highway, driving 120 miles an hour, jumping off buildings, shooting a rocket launcher. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's something similar with these shows. You know, it's just they kind of know what you desire to see or what someone would probably prefer to do. I know that sounds crazy. I'm not really looking to shoot a rocket launcher. I'm just saying, I think the shows kind of replicate something similar, and that's all I have.
Yeah, that's a fact. And it's like most things, like when you see like famous writers, singers, actors, they usually have something in common when they want to be great, right? They want to go down in history as the person that's remembered for doing X, Y, and Z. So there's also that kind of internal motivation there from some of these directors or studios. Like, yeah, I was a part of this, and this is one of the greatest shows of all time, and now I was a part of that. We made X amount of money. We made so also that plays a role in kind of pushing this element, you know.
So, I mean, I know we're about to wrap up real quick, but I really want to just follow up on that question. Do you believe that there's any kind of social engineering going on?
I think social engineering exists in all facets, right? Like if
top media, like these media things, like they do things intentionally knowing that it's going to get people thinking in a certain way.
When it comes to TV shows, and I don't think is as social engineering is as prevalent. Now, when you're talking about politics, yes, I do think, because you got to think, right? There's not much of a monetary motivation when it comes to like politics to a degree, right? It's like it's more about like your values, your principles, right? With these studios, sometimes a lot of the times when they get brought an idea like, hey, this is what I want, they don't give a, I ain't gonna lie, they don't give a F about the actual storyline. They're just like, all right, how is this gonna sell? Right? And in order for something to sell, it has to appeal to the masses. What appeals to the masses? These generic storylines, these same things that we've seen time and time again. Okay, if we can profit off this and push this and make this a huge beast in and of itself, then we'll push it. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen at all. So there's no social engineering at all, but I don't think it's like wide scale where all these studios coop up together like, hey, we're gonna start convincing these people to start mass murdering each other. No, I don't think that's the case. I don't think human beings, I think we give human beings too much credit. I don't think we're as intelligent as we think they are. I think it just is a byproduct of just things that are happening. But I wouldn't say it's I think if you can argue it's social engineering, it's more prevalent in TV shows than it is movies, but I just think it depends, man. I that's just my honest opinion. I feel like because we have so many, there are just so many different TV shows. The most popular TV shows are like fantasy shows that don't even exist. Things that are like dragons, and those are the most popular, you know, TV shows that we have to date, right? Like, but it's not like these shows like Top Boy, The Wire, they're not even the most popular TV shows of all time. So I can't say social engineering because the most popular TV shows don't even really can't exist in reality, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would just echo most sentiment, 1,000%. I don't think there's any propaganda in the sense of, okay, we're going to brainwash them. We're going to get them to do this. If they watch this, then we're going to get them control over them in this aspect. I think it's just they know what to feed to the masses, whether good or not for them, that the masses will consume. I don't think their intent is to get any action other than just viewers make money off of it.
Yeah, I agree. You can definitely argue probably documentaries though. You can probably argue there might be some level of social engineering there when they bring up studies, when they bring up, but it is there's exceptions, right? But I think generally that's not really the case. Do you think that's the case, Oliver? Do you think there's like social engineering involved when it comes to TV shows and movies?
I think it may not be on a wide scale, but I do think there's intentionality behind like what is shown to who. You feel me? I feel like BET, stuff like that, they have like what they show, they can select what they put on their network. You feel me? And a lot of the stuff that is like black films and stuff like that tend to be centered around, this dystopic hood idea. Like,
why do you think that is though? Do you think it's because is that people we're grabbing it and they're like, okay, let's keep feeding the beast, or do you think it's just, oh, let's just put it out there? Like, which one do you think came first?
I don't think that they're mutually separate. I feel like you can say like I'm gonna show these people this because this is what would sell and it makes sense, and I'm showing them again like there's an artistry part to it where maybe the person behind it was a black person themselves. Like I want to put out Friday, you feel me? And I think Friday is a good movie, but I do think like so many Fridays, so many, baby boys, so many versions of these narratives eventually absorb into somebody's conscious as this is, my reality. I think like this is how we understand. I think a lot of people they understand their culture through movies. They understand like they get their identities through movies and through media. And although it may like all of it generally may not be intentional, I feel like at some point of the process before it hits the big screen, somebody knows like the negative. Like I feel like any psychologist or any like person who works with mental health or mental how the brain works knows the impact of what's like music and movies on people. You feel me?
Yeah, it has an effect. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, so that's where I'm kind of in like, and maybe I'll have my tinfoil hat on here and I'm just kind of like putting theories out there. But
that's a good point.
And there's stuff today, right? There's stuff today, and I don't know if we can talk about this here. I'm gonna put it out there. Feel free to edit it out. But like we talk about like what messages are being put into movies and shows now that we are like, bro, clearly there's something behind it. We could call it an agenda, we could call it something, but like clearly there's something there. And I don't think it's always, although it's monetary behind it, I think there's always somebody who checks off the box where it's just like, yeah, this is gonna make money and serve another purpose as well.
Okay. So it could be like cooped up like a double, like, hey, while this is like we want to make money, we can also add this, like diversity and inclusion. Let's include this, let's include that. Like, you know what I mean? As a, and sometimes it can backfire, like Bud Light, right? Like sometimes there's just when you have an audience where they want something, then at one point, what do you give them? It's kind of like TV shows too. Like sometimes there's TV shows or there's you have a certain brand and you're like in the TV show or movie and you're trying to push it out. But then let's say, for instance, right, a person's trying to come up with a TV show. It's like, I'm gonna make this popular, I'm gonna make this authentic, but it's not gonna incorporate violence. It's not gonna incorporate anything. And it falls flat on its face from a monetary perspective. Then they're like, what happened? Is this not what people want to see? But people, we're so programmed in seeing or accepting a certain product or a certain brand that now people feel like they got to follow along. Like, you know what? F it. I'm gonna just go to power route. I'm gonna go to snowfall route. I'm gonna just go to top boy route. You know what I mean? So I guess we got to find that balance. But I do get your point though, for sure.
Yeah. So I would say shows, yes. TV shows, yes. But are these specific TV shows, Top Boy, The Wire, Snowfall, Power, are they detrimental to the culture? I'm gonna say Mo, go. Yes or no?
Are they detrimental to the culture?
Yeah, to the culture, our culture. Yes or no? One word answer.
It's a bit. No, the reason why I'm because there's just certain questions that there's nuances to it, right? So
whatever you want to answer, yes or no.
I don't know, because it's a little bit of both. I'll probably lean towards. I'll lean towards no. Just given the state of where we're at in 2023, even though my opinion may change because there are nuances. But go ahead, Oliver.
Same thing. Detrimental to the culture, yes or no? You don't have to tell me why, just yes or no.
I can't give you yes or no, bro. Well, first, actually,
just give me yes or no.
Find the culture.
And our culture. Yes or no. Our culture.
Like culture, like
where we're from, where we grew up, the
experiences and the traditions that we uphold, our values and principles within the Western society, like in the US itself. So like,
but not just the US, the part of the US that we come from.
The hood.
Okay, all right.
Is it detrimental to the hood culture? No, it's not detrimental to the hood culture.
Okay, I didn't say hood culture. You said culture. I just said culture.
Now, Rue, what you said, yo, the culture we come, then it was like fair game at that point.
I ain't say it, you said it, but I'm gonna also say no. But like I said, anyone who can relate to this in the comments, definitely tell us what you think about these shows. Do you think it's detrimental to the culture? Do you think there's any social engineering, as O mentioned? We'd love to hear your comments. So like, comment, subscribe. Oh, thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it. This is 2 cents short of $1, and we're out.